Okay, so this is Mishlei 23, 13, and 14, which we read, but we didn't work on. And this is very easy to translate. Al timna mina ar musar, do not withhold musar from a youth. Ki sakenu b'shevet lo yamus. If you hit him with a stick, he ain't gonna die. Ezra. And I think here musar probably is more likely to mean rebuke, right? Because you're hitting with a stick. Discipline. Okay. Ata b'shevet takenu. You hit him with a stick, v'nafsho mishol tatzil, and you'll save his soul from the grave. All right, or from the netherworld, as probably something English say. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Oh yeah. So Mitzudas Tion right on spot says Mishol is Gehenom. Okay. So that's or Gehenom. Okay. Sadigon says Ki takenu b'shevet lo yamus mimenu. So he says when you hit him with a stick, he won't die from it. Okay, from the hit. Okay, well, I assume that's what it meant. I don't think that's a radical idea. And then he says. He adds the word ki, okay, for. I even did that in my translation. Okay, so Sadigon is fine. Targum says, Lo timna min talia mardusa mitud in machayas le beshivta lo ma'es. Okay, so that's a literal translation. Ant beshivta machayas le v'nafshe mefaltas min shiur. Okay, that's just literal translation. Okay, nothing new there. And then we've got strong hazelnut smell. Is it hazelnut? Yeah. That's what I associate also with running over coffee. Okay. Our school says, do not withhold discipline from the youth. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. You should strike him with a rod and you will rescue his soul from the grave. Okay. So they're saying you should. I think that actually makes more sense. You should hit him with a rod and rescue his soul from the grave. Living Nach says, do not withhold discipline from youth. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. Strike him with a rod and you will save him from the netherworld. Altar says, do not hold back reproof from a lad. When you strike him with a rod, he won't die. You, with a rod, you should strike him and save his life from Sheol. Okay, so yeah, translation is very simple. I would not be surprised if we finish this today. Okay, what are the questions?
How hard can you hit him?
A very practical question. Yeah, so clearly there's a limit, right? If you hit him in a way that could kill him, don't. Okay, yeah.
On the other hand, this doesn't seem to be in line with the modern parenting strategies.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So is there a way you can understand it outside of that, maybe?
Okay. So let's
or do you have
instead of asking the question from
I
modern, let's ask it on the pasuk and then extend it. Yeah. Ezra.
Does this parenting technique work, or like does hitting him save him? How does hitting him save him?
Okay. Yeah. All right. How does hitting him save him? And then let's ask the question, what are the parameters and limitations of this method? Okay, because, what was it?
I was going to say stick less than a width of the thumb. Is that the Rambam or something?
Right, bringing in like a Bukharian customs from the old country? Yeah. Yoshua?
Yeah, what's the not?
Hold on a second. I am not on the audio mode that enables me to. And just give me one more second again. Okay, yeah. Say again.
What's the Havamina that when you hit him with a staff, he will die?
Okay. What is
are you beating him like
Amina that of Yud Gimel? Yeah. And of Yud Dalet, right? There seems to be two Havaminas. You can pass that to Ali. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
This is also a Havamina of al-timna, meaning that you don't plan on hitting.
Okay, correct. Right. So what's the Havamina of you? I'm going to elaborate on this. In other words, why is the Havamina that you shouldn't hit him because he will die, right? Yeah, I think that's Havamina. Okay, what else?
Give rebuke in other ways.
Yeah. Okay. So this question, I don't usually like to ask questions like this, but if you look, I think I'm going to ask this because we've done pesukim like this before. If you look through Mishlei, who does he usually say that you should discipline by hitting? Seal, right? Okay. Yeah. So there's a bunch of pesukim about this. Let me just see if I can find any. I think shave it. Let me just look up shave it. Not shave it. I feel like there's a bunch of people that say shave it legev kasilim.
Yeah. I know we learned at least two.
Yeah. Let's just see. Slow internet today. Okay.
I feel like there was one like me, a weights and the pesi word.
Yes, hitalates and the pesi will become wise. Okay. So Besif say, so Mishlei 10:13. Besif say navin timate chachma v'shavit legev chasar lev. So on the lips of the navin can be found wisdom, but a rod for the back of the one who lacks mind. Chosik, okay, that's a different. Oh yeah, no, that's a different one. Zorei avla avin v'shavit evras l'nifla. No. Oh, so this is one that does talk about with the nar. Foolishness is tied. We did this one recently. Foolishness is tied to the heart of a youth. Shavit musar yarchikanim. Although this one was ambiguous, right? That the rod of musar will distance him from the musar.
Yeah.
Or so that one's ambiguous. And then we have our pasuk. Shot lasus meseg lachamor v'shavit legev k'sin. That one is pretty explicit. I forgot what a shot I think is another like a whip for a horse. What was it?
Riding crop.
A riding crop, yeah, sure. For a message for a donkey, a muzzle for a donkey, and a shave it for the back of fools. Yeah. So there's a bunch of pesukim like this. So the question is, is this really an ideal method? Like this, I guess this is part of the question too. Okay, is this an ideal method? There are many other pesukim in Mishlei which state that that corporal punishment should only be used with fools. Yara?
Yeah. What scenario is this? Like, meaning, like, assuming that there are other methods, and this is for extreme purposes,
right? Is this pasuk talking about a specific scenario? Yeah.
And also, like, saving him from his grave, like, it's that seems like it's it's a desperate action. And if it is a desperate action, what's the having?
Okay, good. Yeah, that's actually a good clue. Isaac.
Is this literally hitting him?
Okay, yeah. So is this even talking about literal corporal punishment? Yeah. If not, what is the nimshal? David.
What is he looking to achieve with this musar? Is he looking to stop the person from doing something that is harmful, or is he looking to actually have him learn and grow something?
All right, so let me wrap Ariel's question into that question, which is, what does nafsho mishaol tatsiel mean? Right, because that's stating the objective, right? Yeah. Fazio?
So I think my question might be similar to that, which is, why is it just prefacing what's not going to happen? Why is that like a whole, do this or that, and whatever, at the end of the day he's not going to die? It's like, why would you not instead tell us what you are going to achieve? Just the phrasing.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, we could ask that also. Hold on a second. I guess I'll lead with David's question, which is, what does this type of musar aim to achieve? Okay. And what does an option mean? Because I think that is definitely the what do you call? That's the clearest thing that we have to an answer to that question. So that's why I wanted to incorporate it into the thing.
So just to kind of follow up on that too, unless like what it's saying, unless it's going off the premise that we already have always known in any kind of discipline what we're trying to achieve. That's not the question here. We're just saying, because we know that we're trying to achieve the typical goals of discipline, you should go so far as that even if it hits, so long as it's not killing, then it's gonna hurt the kid. Do that.
Okay, so I am going to divide this into two questions. So what is this type of, is this talking about like all the normal objectives of Mishlei, or is this talking about a specific objective in this specific instance? And then when it says what does Mishol Tatzil mean, is this a long-term goal, like outcome, or is this what you're trying to do in this specific instance of disciplining him? Yeah, Yeshua?
Yeah, why do we need both pesukim? It seems like you can learn everything out from Yodalid. Like if you should hit him, you know that you shouldn't withhold from hitting him. And if it will save him from the grave, it's clearly not going to kill him.
Okay, what is the relationship between the two pesukim? How are they both necessary? Isaac?
Saying that he's not going to die is like a bit extreme.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extreme thing to think that he would die. You know, it's like
I just associated to a scene from Seinfeld, which I'll have to show. But yeah, for this, yeah.
Yeah. So like it's you know, you do a great deal of harm without actually killing someone.
Right.
You know, let's say a person's trying to figure out whether they should, you know, like make a purchase or not.
Yeah.
You know, saying like, oh, you know, it won't make you lose all your money if you do this. You know,
Right.
It's like, okay, fine, but it's still good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna incorporate that into question 3, which is why state the Hava Amina in such like extreme terms. Yeah, I mean, I knew you were asking more than that, but I think I'll get there. Yeah, Ellie?
Similar to Joe's question, I guess, in the fact that we're focusing a lot on the negative,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, say, you know, you're preventing him, you're saving him from the grave or from death, or
Yeah.
whatever, as opposed to building him up towards life,
Right.
or towards strength, or like,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So
It might be like the same.
no, I'll add that to what does this type of Musar aim to achieve? Is there a reason why this only focuses on like prevention of the negative instead of like positive development? Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, how does hitting him save him from the soul? Like, what is it specifically doing that's saving him?
Yeah. How's hitting him save him? Oops, from Sheol. That's Shaul. Oh no, it's also no. That's how you spell it. Also, okay, yeah. Some potential for a really bad Devar Torah. Yeah. Yeah. Isaac. The gematria of Shaul is equal to the gematria of Shaul. Yeah.
What is Shaul?
Yeah. Okay. We should probably ask that. What is Shaul? Yeah, Ezra.
What's Mishlei Podcast? This might not be like.
Oh yeah. We gotta ask that.
Yeah.
What is Na'ar in this context? Yeah. That's a big contentious issue. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah,
Because the fact that this one, I don't know, I'm imagining it seems like it's kind of a unique thing to base off the fact that, oh, and it's not gonna kill the person. Is that maybe like a way of saying like this is the kind of going off like the most extreme thing? Are we saying it's giving you an insider opinion on any other kind of this is as far as you can go, and maybe something else that you could do to a kid? There's like maybe there are certain things that are not hitting that maybe are potentially worse, even if they're not hitting. Those don't do. And you know, it's I don't know, like some sort of like pushing them out of society or something like that. Like, is this giving you kind of like a line of, oh, this is the thing, this is as far as you can go, and it's showing you some sort of insight into.
Okay, so I'm gonna incorporate that question into here in a weird way. What are the parameters and limitations of this method, and what does that tell us about what's outside of those parameters? In other words, if you go too far, you go too.
Yeah, what is too far?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Ellie?
I guess question in terms of who is the audience?
Yeah.
Any sort of authoritative figure,
Okay.
specifically like father or parent.
Okay, who is the audience of this process? Okay, that's good. Is it limited? It doesn't even say son, right? It just says youth, right? Yeah. So is it limited to a parent / teacher, or does it extend to other authority figures or something, blah blah. Yeah. This relates to the question in the chat from Monday Night's Pasuk that I was just answering before shiur that you asked. Just to note that.
I
know you didn't see it. Yeah.
Acknowledging the message.
Yeah.
All right. I have a couple questions. One in the first pasuk, is he saying that in the second half of the pasuk, is that the rebuke with the staff, or two separate people? In the second half of the pasuk of the first pasuk is for when you hit him with the staff. Like, is that the rebuke for the first pasuk, or
that's a good question. That's a good question here. Well, it's not two separate people. You're asking the question: is the musar that you're not withholding hitting him with a staff, or is the musar one thing and the staff is another thing?
Well, the reason why I'm saying it might be two separate people is because, if you're hitting him with a staff, it's like that's for like an extreme measure. Why would you hit the guy with the staff if it's only necessary to rebuke him in other ways?
Yeah, I'm assuming we're talking about the same person.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
And the second question is shoot.
I'll come back. Yeah, Ellie.
Or may I take like a little interpretation at it?
We're almost ready for that.
Okay,
any more questions?
Yeah.
Other than Ariel's loading? No? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
Okay, cool. So I think the idea, at least that I got from him, involved the concept of like anti-fragility.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
I love that concept. Right. So
it's the wife of Uncle Fragility. Yeah.
Right. As opposed to something like, fine china that's very fragile. It's more of it's not really, can't really be compared to much, but the idea that stressors and failures seem to make something more sturdy and or an individual more sturdy and firm and strong.
Right.
And there was something to be stronger kind of idea.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about it is, there's many interesting things about it, but it's aimed at the father or the disciplinarian, I should say, right? So like, what is it telling him? Right. I assume we all agree this is aimed at the disciplinarian. It's just a question of like how far that extends.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean?
Yeah. So building on what Ellie was saying, I think that especially for parents, and I think also sometimes for educators or other people who are in a disciplinary role. So when a child does something wrong, so there's a certain innocence that we associate with kids, right? And they just made a mistake and like, I don't need to punish them.
Yeah.
Or
because I was like, not my kid.
Further, I'm going to cause serious harm.
Yeah, right.
And so because of that, so it's, I think, emphasizing like the way in which people treat discipline sometimes is that what you're going to do is going to kill them.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's not.
Yeah.
And that emotion that's telling you like this is like paramount to killing them is really not true.
Okay.
And to the opposite, that if you don't discipline them, then it's going to lead them to making improper associations about life, which is going to be so damaging to them that
will actually kill them. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. I think that is the basic idea. Yeah.
I was going to point out that it seems like this parallel in the first to him that it's not going to kill him to discipline him, but it is going to kill him if you don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
That seems to be like the
Right. So what's interesting about it is that this is a good. I think this also explains why. I think it answers a lot of questions, but I think this explains why it's using such extreme language for like you won't kill him because it's speaking to the emotion, which the parent feels like they are going to kill them, and again, having seen this, I'm not a parent, but I've seen a lot of parents who don't discipline their kids, and they just don't want to cause, first of all, they treat like any pain on the part of the kid as like harm, right? Like that's like I was saying. So they don't want to rebuke or discipline or anything to their kids because they feel they equate pain with harm, and they feel like a discipline, since it causes pain, is harming their kids, and therefore they refrain, not realizing that is setting their kid up for failure, which is going to be real harm, and so that's why he's speaking to the emotions. And what he's doing is a good example of like how to mishleically channel your emotions. Is you have this feeling, I don't want to kill my kid, right? But it is mischanneled when you give into that emotion by refraining from giving discipline to them. But there is a place for that emotion, which is by disciplining them. You're going to prevent them from dying. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to add on to what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
I think like the first pasuk and the second pasuk, the first pasuk is more of like a preventative preventative, versus the second is more like, all right, well, what do you do in a situation where it actually is, present?
Yeah.
So like, I think what we just said for the first half is good, and for the second half of the pasuk is, like now that you're at this point where like you're facing reality, where like you have to hit him with a stick, it's coming to tell you that like, if you value a relationship, if you really love him, and if you want him to be with you,
Yeah.
in this world, whatever that means,
Yeah.
You need to,
Right. Yeah. There was
Put him a bit,
there was a nice prop. There was a another pasuk that I saw that does express it in a positive way, I think. I thought there was. Hold on.
Yeah, and I think
Chosech shivto sone beno v'ohavo shicharo musar. One who withholds the staff hates his son, but one who loves him will I don't know how they translate shicharo musar, will give him musar early. That's another thing. Is like you tell a parent you have this parent who our pasuk is talking to, who's refusing to discipline their son, and you say, why do you hate your son? I don't hate my son. I love him. I would never, but no, withholding discipline is hating him, because it's like, it's kind of like when you see someone do something that's really foolish, and you say like, why are you sabotaging yourself? They say, I'm not sabotaging myself, but look at your actions. Your actions are sabotaging yourself. So the actions of someone who hates their son is someone who does not do what's in their best interest for their son. So it is as if they're hating their son. Yeah, Ellie?
Yeah. So I mean, kind of building off what we were saying earlier, that when a person has a very narrow philosophical framework or way of viewing the world,
yeah,
and it's like solidified, when they get out into other experiences in the real world that don't fit into that worldview,
yeah,
into that framework, it can be like shattering to
yeah,
a certain degree.
Right.
Right. It's kind of like what a lot of people say when talking about things like post-traumatic stress, how like an experience could be so far removed from your day-to-day life that it's so extreme that it could like cause a lot of like heartache.
Right. So that's another point, which is, so I think what we're okay. I want to pivot from that into taking a stance on what do we mean by saving him from Sheol, from the grave. So what are some possibilities that I think there's lots of possibilities that could all work with this idea. Yeah, you have an answer?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, it's funny when you mentioned hitting Excel.
Yeah.
And the question that I just remembered was like, is this guy further away than Excel, or is he actually?
Yeah. So I have a response to that also, and I also want to go and answer Ezra's question.
Yeah.
Of what an R is here. Yeah.
Okay. So I think to answer the question about the grave is like, I think he's just really far off the deep end when it comes to like, living life, the proper way. Like it's really, really hurting him.
Okay. So one thing, grave could be just a general statement, just like in Mishlei, death is a statement for bad consequences. All right. Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, I guess yeah.
Right. So it could be bad consequences. Gehenna maybe is getting at imperfection or averos or something like that, whatever you say Gehenna is, afterlife, whatever, but I think you could say what Ellie was going to say also, which is like, death is bad because it's death, but it's also bad because it's painful, of like that if you don't discipline him and you just let him proceed with like whatever, youthfully distorted way of viewing the world he has, it's going to get shattered sometime, right? Like that's the nature of reality, is it's going to shatter fantasies, and that's going to be a painful thing, So like, let's say like, again, to me, it's hard for me to not use school examples, but like there are mothers who do all their kids' homework, like in elementary school, and they think that they're helping their kid because homework is bad for the kid, it's painful for the kid. And I mean, it might also be bad for the kid. The homework is painful for the kid. And like, they want to save their kid from pain. But then I've seen cases where like the parent did this for elementary school, and then the parent does it for middle school, and then the parent does it for high school, and then the parent does it for, helps them in college. And eventually the kid's going to get a job, and the mom's not going to be able to follow the kid to the job. And he's going to have to like face the pain of having to do stuff that he doesn't want to do. And that's going to be a horrible pain because he's been raised for all those years, being saved from that experience, as opposed to like building the resilience of like forcing yourself to do stuff that you don't want to do. Oh yeah, Yeshua had his hand up first, and I'll go back to Ellie. Yeah, Yeshua.
Yeah, so within this framework or this understanding, are we understanding hitting him with the staff as just an example of disciplining him?
So I think that this is not limited to just a physical hitting with a staff. I think that is showing the limits of it, of using corporal punishment. But I think that parents feel like they're hitting the kid when they even like say rebuke or like take away a privilege or something like that. Like they feel like they're killing a kid. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ellie. Yeah.
So if we're going based off the idea that we say like saving yourself from the grave is more preventing him from future pain and heartache.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I might already have an answer to this in terms of like why it would use the word the grave, which isn't really encompassing of pain as a whole. It's kind of like an endpoint.
Yeah.
The grave, he said.
Right. Finality.
Unless you want to say that it draws parallel to the end of the Gimel.
Yeah. So it's funny. So if we're going with your interpretation that's referring to the pain, I would be more inclined to say that it's talking about Gehenna, of like, painful torture or whatever, as opposed to just the grave. Yeah. So I think that works. Yeah, please go.
It's interesting that if you're thinking about it from the perspective of the parent not wanting to cause harm to the child.
Yeah.
And yet we're also looking at the results of that are that you set them up for reality that eventually will be so far from the real reality that it'll shatter them. That could, potentially end up, that's like a life-ending thing. It's almost like it's contrasting. It's like, you hitting him with the rod, that won't kill him. But if not doing it, if it comes to it, will. Like,
right.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just like that phrasing is interesting. It's doing it in one. I guess I'm just admiring. Like, yeah,
it's great.
Like
proverb.
Very efficient.
Yeah.
Like it's saying two things in that same like ending thing, which is the thing that you're afraid of.
Yeah.
Is also that's how you have to.
Right. So just to comment on this. So as a proverb, he's very good at like speaking to the emotion, but also this is a good example of Mishlei Mida, right? Which is that the very thing that the fool wants to avoid, then he gets that consequence. Is he wants to not kill his kid, so he doesn't rebuke, and that kills his kid. However you say the killing is. Yeah.
And you can also do it a positive way.
He wants to save his kid.
So
right.
You can do the thing that you want to save him from.
Yeah.
Early enough before it's so.
Yeah. Ezra.
I think there's also like I was asking myself like why is there no like upper boundary, like why does it not say like don't hit him too much, because like obviously it can have adverse effects if you just continually
right. Yeah.
And, I think like because anyone who's this person is talking to is not going to like have ill will for their child. Right? Yeah, meaning if the Havamina is that I don't want to hit the kid, then there's a very little danger for that person of going too far. Right. Yeah, I think that's actually a good answer for that. Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, I also think it's important to recognize that it could also be talking literally from the grave, right? That if the kid's acting recklessly, right, not punishing reckless behavior, means that the child is going to continue to do reckless things, and reckless things can literally
definitely. Yeah, I mean, like again, two examples that come to mind are parents who don't exercise discipline when it comes to like, let's say like, reckless, like, how would I differentiate? Either like, okay, I mean, the two examples, Shlomo's example, right, is the kid who goes and like hangs out with like, like joins a gang, basically like hangs out with kids who are like stealing and killing and all that stuff. It could be reckless driving. It could be drugs, these things could actually like result in the death in the actual death of a child. Yeah.
I think Gehenna moral kind of read is a better one, because it specifically says nafsho. It doesn't just say like he's gonna die or he's gonna go to the grave. It says like his soul is gonna go.
Right, but you got to remember that. But you got to remember that nefesh in Tanakh means biological life, and it also means your perfection. It's both. Yeah, I mean that's why I think Gehenna was good, because it works with both ways. Yeah.
I just want to talk about Havamina a little more.
Yeah.
There's an additional element. It's not just that the parent has this feeling. The way the kid will react is like the kid will sometimes react like you're killing them.
Right.
That like, because like they're not seeing they totally don't see long-term
Right.
consequences. So they're like if the kid's like kind of acting and the parents like no, then the kid might have a full-on meltdown because they just see that you just like depriving them of good.
Right.
And they'll react like you're killing them.
Right.
But
Yeah, and I just want to give another example, and I'm not saying that this is like literally what's going on, but just to help you get into the mentality of the parent, is that so many times throughout the history of Shalhevet, during recruiting season, then there'd be families who would come and the parents would love the school, but the kids would want to go where their friends are going, and the parent would give in to the kid, and I'm not saying that that's always bad, but that would happen many times. And I think that there is this feeling where when the parent says, could put their foot down and say no, this is going to be better for you, and they don't, and the kid says, I'll hate you forever, something like that. So not only is it that you feel like you're causing harm to the kid and killing them, but you're also fearing that you're going to permanently ruin your relationship with the kid. That's going to totally mess up the entire relationship. Which theoretically can happen, but most of the time that's not going to happen. Most of the time that's not actually going to happen when disciplining your kid. Yeah.
Okay, so now the question is, how does it actually work? Meaning, if you hit him with a staff. Now the question is it limited to a kid, or it can also be an adult who acts like a kid, or has the nature of a youth at some capacity? Now, if that's the case, if you do hit him with a stick, it seems like he'll just push back. How do you?
Right. So I think we have to go into what the youth is, right? So there's two theories that I know of about what the Mishlei youth is. So the first one's my theory. Let's just see how I formulated it here in 2017, which is the term youth isn't a reference to age, but to wisdom. Just as the Torah uses zaken in reference to someone who has acquired much wisdom regardless of his age. The nar has had enough life experience to form his own views, personality, and habits, but for the most part, he has no major flaws which stand in the way of Mishlaic learning and Mishlaic development. The nar is one of the audience members for whom Shlomo Melech intended in his book, as it is stated, to provide the nar with knowledge and intelligent planning. So my conception of the nar is the most neutral personality in Mishlei. He has enough life experience to be able to gain from Mishlei. So he's not like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, even though this pasuk might apply to that, but that's that would be like a Yeled or a Tinok or whatever. But he also doesn't have like great perfections or great imperfections. He's just like the closest thing to a blank slate, even though no one's truly a blank slate. But then Rבינו Yona, who I've been coming around to more and more and more, the more I learn about the youth, Rבינו Yona says on Mishlei 1:5, so he warns, Shlomo is warning about giving tochacha to the nar, meaning saying that you should do it. Even though the nar has been accustomed in chet for many years, because he is under the dominion of the father to discipline him and to hit him. Okay, meaning the father can give him rebuke and can punish him. Vashenis, and the second is mipnei sheyesh tikva shimshol b'tavaso v'yashana estivo. There's also hope that the youth can still rule his desires and change his nature because he's still in the days of youth. Okay, in other words, there is a certain pliability of character that you have while you're young, but then at a certain point, as you get older, it hardens and it becomes much harder to change. And I don't think this is just a Jewish thing. I think a lot of cultures use the mashal of the tree, that if you have a young tree that's growing, you can shape it and influence the way it goes, while it's still young. But if you take an oak tree, and you try to shape it, it's just going to break, So with the youth, they're still developing, they're still figuring out who they are. There's still a certain openness. And also they just haven't been living for as many years in those habits. But at a certain point, it becomes hardened. So to answer your question, can this pasuk be applied to other people? According to Rבינו Yona, you need two qualities. You need to have some discipline over them, like being able to have punishment, right, in some way. And second is they need to be able to still be moldable. So I don't know if this is I'm not saying it can't work for an adult, but it's much harder for an adult, you know. So I don't think that's the primary audience of the pasuk.
Yeah, if he relates, he's not gonna change.
Right. Yeah, he's set in his ways. Yeah.
Another thought from what Isaac was saying a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
That also once you have made this decision to go and rebuke someone, to not be monad, like not to lessen or to make less the amount of rebuke that you're going to be giving. Where Saz was saying, like, as you're rebuking the kid, then like that moment he starts acting as though like you're killing him now. Then maybe you like, okay, I originally thought it was a good idea to do it, but like now, like, oh, it feels bad. It feels so bad, like that at this moment it's very real to you.
Yeah.
Like, the pain is very real to you, so you feel this. I want to stop.
Yeah.
But to fully recognize before and come to terms that this is going to be a painful thing.
Yeah.
And like set clear how much you're going to do and not allow your emotions.
Okay, so that's an important practical point, which is that there are parents. Okay, I'm gonna argue this could be worse. Yeah, this is definitely worse. There are parents who will muster up enough willpower to start the discipline, and then when they see the kid react, then they'll back off and they'll change. And that's even worse than not disciplining the kid. Why? Because it shows the kid that they can manipulate the parent. You know, like if the parent just is just afraid, you know, and just never disciplines the kid. So then like, yeah, the kid's gonna like feel they can get away with stuff. But like when the parent says, okay, I'm grounding you for a week, and then she, you know, she starts crying, and then there's like, well, just for tonight, you know, like then you see that the, you know, that the parents don't actually like, that the parent is afraid of the kid. So like, yeah, I think the follow through and bracing yourself for the fact that, yeah, this is going to be painful for me, right? Like the kid is going to cry and I'm going to feel bad, you know, and they might hate me for a while. Like that's I think that's that, you know, you got to brace yourself ahead of time for that. Yeah.
It's like, to your point about what you were saying before about, you know, letting someone, you know, destroy himself.
Yeah.
To me, like the best example is like if you don't like the guy.
Yeah.
The best example is if you see a guy with like spinach between his teeth, hey, you just let him, you know, go through the day.
Wait, what? I totally missed. I missed that.
It's like.
Wait, what kind of person are you? What's it again?
A parent who loves his kid is going to do whatever the parent, the parent will do whatever he can to protect this kid from harm.
Okay, right. I'm with you there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that even if it's to say something uncomfortable.
Oh, okay. So you are agreeing that you should tell the guy.
You should.
Okay, fine. Okay, yeah, right. But even though it's awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like the question I've always was wondering, why does no one tell people, or why are they afraid to tell someone to spinach between their teeth?
Yeah.
I think they should.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, you know, I have to.
Or like your flies down.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's very mild compared to anything like this. Hold on just one second. I actually have a real world example, but because it is on Facebook, then I just want to search for it, not sharing the screen. So the background of this is, I've said this many times before, but the two most influential teachers in my life are Rabbi Moskowitz and then Mrs. Scott, my 6th through 8th grade band teacher, who was what? Cool. Yeah, no. I didn't mean that to sound so dismissive, but yeah. So yeah. Hold on just one second here. Yeah. So she was a ex-military Eskimo woman who was very a big disciplinarian. And the example I always talk about this was she used to make us do push-ups, not us, but she used to make kids who didn't misbehave do not us do push-ups. And the most like extreme example is when we were doing, you know, marching band practice, and Shannon Wick, the trumpet player, was chewing gum, and Mrs. Scott said, like, get down and give me 20 on the street. You know, this is back in the good old 90s when you could do stuff like that, you know, but I had a student who, so the student, this was at graduation, I'm not gonna say the year, student came up to me, 12th grader, and said, I wanted to try to sum up all 4 years of what I personally gained most from your classes, from my classes. You know what that is? Tough love. When I was a freshman, your manner really annoyed me. And I always thought to myself, why is Rabbi Shnei always on my case? But looking back, I realized I owe so much of my personal development to that tough love. So the reason why I wanted to bring that example up is because the kid, there is a payoff that the kid, if you're actually giving Musar correctly, and it's going to benefit the kid in the long run, when they are older, they will thank you for having done that, because they'll be able to see their past immaturity and see like, wow, what would I have like become if like I had been like stuck in that mode, So I think that's that's another thing that the parent can use to like have that their own resilience of like, I have to like tough it out, and I might have to tough it out for years. Like I might have to tough it out for like, like this whole period of like this turbulent youth, but then they'll appreciate it afterwards.
I wonder if you can, extrapolate from that in a situation where you have an adult, not necessarily a nar, who's like, blinded by, their emotions, and that like the best thing for them is to get them to do something that objectively will
you could definitely get that effect sometimes. I was going to mention, by the way, just in terms of the definition of youth, I mean, I think you've probably heard and read about this, but we are in a weird position in society now where adolescence gets extended into like your 20s, like people who are in their mid 20s, many of them are still effectively like living under their in their parents' home, living under the parents' discipline, not going out and working, and like that does have like, it throws this into a weird area, because in certain respects, like you still are the Mishlei youth who can be affected, but then again, you also have many years of the bad habits. So I don't know like how to diagnose the modern youth. Yeah, Ezra?
Can this apply also to those like not so extreme on the spectrum of the Tom, the Pesi, those who are like
definitely. Yeah, the only difference is that you usually have recourse to less painful methods because they are open to like listening to you, so you won't usually have to do something that's going to be like really painful. So I think that's why he wouldn't like start with talking about that. Yeah. Okay. I think this is
I also have a real
yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Like real world.
Yeah.
Although not our so our son like didn't sleep very well.
Yeah.
And we were like, we wanted to sleep train it so that he would sleep through the night.
Yeah.
Better for him, better for us.
Yeah.
So we hit her. But the issue was if you try to sleep train him, he cries.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure that feels bad.
And like we were worried, like, is he gonna love us? Is he gonna during the day?
Right.
And for a while we pushed it off. We like just got up in the middle of the night with him.
Yeah.
And then like one night we were like, okay, like let's just go through with it. And it was like 2.5 hours of crying the first night.
Yeah.
Like wouldn't go to bed, and then the next night it was an hour.
Yeah.
And then like finally like now he sleeps perfectly.
Yeah.
Like 12 hours.
That's good. Yeah. And I think it probably does feel really bad. I mean, like on an instinctual level, I would imagine that, like you're really harming him.
He hates us.
Yeah.
He hates us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's never gonna look at us again.
Yeah. And on the other side, I always wonder, and I don't mean this in like a negative way, but I always want my mom was of the opinion of like staying in my room until I went to sleep, and I'm not going to chalk up my insomnia to that, but I always do wonder if my being a very light sleeper has anything to do with like that kind of thing. I have no idea, but like, but that's like the Mishlei law of unintended consequences, that many times also like there could be like additional benefits you get from implementing these ideas that aren't directly like referenced in the pasuk, and then also additional consequences. Yeah. Okay, good. So tomorrow we'll start a little bit later, I guess, because of Rosh Chodesh. But I have the feeling that the meforshim, well, we'll see. I have a feeling that the meforshim are not going to be drastically different than from what we said, but maybe we'll be surprised. And I think it'll be fun to explore the Derek Nister though, right? Your inner child, see what happens with that. Yeah. Okay. Have a good day.